Hello friends, it's Heather, the cooking musician. Today's recipe is another Chinese one, created to use up all the red peppers I bought. I do seem to have a problem with buying too much, especially at the moment while all my family are off traveling and I'm at home by myself. And I still have the tendency to pick up groceries as if I'm cooking for all of us, plus all the friends my kids used to bring home and would come to ours to study and play music and hang out. I think I have the same mentality as my grandmother did. There should always be food in the house for the unexpected guest and the huge crowd of family that might drop by at any time. Of course, for my grandmother, she usually had cookies in the jar, an apple or a blueberry pie just coming out of the oven, and a giant pot of lobster or fish stew on the cold porch. I'm from Maine, and we could buy lobster buddies to pick out for sandwiches or stew at 10 for $1. It was one of my jobs growing up. In fact, one of my very first jobs was taking orders at my family's lobster pound, writing up the weight on the cards and then sending them over to my cousin and his best friend to cook in the giant boiler. I started that job at 12 years old and worked an 8-hour shift that started after my morning babysitting job ended. Obviously that was in the summers, but it was assumed that you'd work like this all summer and then just do odd jobs babysitting, or sometimes I'd cashier at my parents' shop in the school year. My grandfather was a fisherman and he ran the lobster pound that I worked for, but in the evenings he would come back and play saxophone in front of the fire. When he was younger, he had been in a big band that toured Maine on the weekends. The fishermen would get up at 3, be out on the boat by 3:30, and home with the catch by noon. And then the ones that doubled as musicians would get home, get cleaned up, and head out to play at the Grange Hall, or sometimes head out to the islands offshore for dances that the community would organize. If my grandfather wasn't playing, he and my grandmother would go out dancing at another band's show and then come back at 3 in the morning. My grandmother would make a big pot of coffee and bacon and eggs for everybody, and the fishermen would then go back out on the boats. I might not have the jobs that they do, but that work ethic and the dedication is pretty inspiring. And even if this Chinese stir fry is nothing like what my grandmother would have made, the idea that there's always food in the fridge for the unexpected guest is so satisfying. Would you like to see how to properly pick out a lobster sometime? Happy cooking, friends.